So decided to make this actually into a stream. Not going to be cutting these videos too much, but we're going to make shorts out of it. So the idea here is we're actually going to be making a SaaS tool. Now I uploaded one video to YouTube. If you've seen it, it's actually about building a SaaS tool from scratch using AI. And it turns out what we did was actually a little complex for just using AI and needs somebody to help build it. So instead, we're going to add a free tool for now that helps YouTubers and creators understand what they could be doing better in their YouTube channels and attracting a bigger audience. And I'm going to be doing this kind of step by step and just streaming it. Now, there may be parts where you got to cut out, but overall, I figure honestly, just need to record these. We might cut some pieces here and there, but overall, it's just the stream of how to do it. So that's the idea. And let's see. This is actually the first time stream, so hopefully with the chat and everything will be all right. All right, so here goes. So let me switch the scene so you guys can see it a little bit better. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go over what we have here. So the first thing we did, and actually, you know what, I'll show this because it's maybe interesting. So first thing we did, we said, okay, we're gonna build this thing. And actually, I started ideating with Claude. And then we said, okay, we're gonna help YouTubers figure out with their benchmark stats and what other channels are doing that actually helps and makes them more popular, right? So you can learn from it. So using Claude, we spit out a lot of different kind of metrics. And then we want to start with an MVP that's actually easy to build. So we wanted to kind of contain that and make sure that what we're building is actually relevant, but easy enough to build just using AI. So that's the goal of this. So we asked the AI to help us understand which model and which way to go. Okay. So that's basically what happens in this whole chat. When we start talking through the idea and what metrics make sense, how we should benchmark against other channels. Then, okay, we have a basic idea for comparing channel metrics and letting people see into that. And it's going to be free to start. We're probably going to add some paid features on, or at least some authenticated features so that you can get deeper insights. But what incentive does somebody have to authenticate? Well, the only way to do that is to give them access to other metrics and probably obfuscate it so people don't feel like we're taking, so people can't entirely copy a channel. Now, the next part of this is we have to design the user experience for the chat. So we have a basic idea, and then I gave chat, keeps wanting to say ChatGPT, but it's actually Claude, a prompt, and told it we're going to talk about user experience. And I gave them an example of a user flow, user experience that we're going to create together. So the nice part about this is you don't have to have the entire idea yourself. You're going to work with whatever AI you choose, in this case Claude, because it has projects that I find it very easy to do. So we're going to ask it to help, and we gave it an example. And there are a couple different types of prompting that we're using here, and we can go into that later. But basically said, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's the example. Ask any questions you have, and then we'll continue on with this. So you can see that the AI does have questions. Okay? And we even had a proposed UI from a previous chat. So there were pieces and elements that we're taking from other chats and pasting them in here. Why we're not keeping this in the same chat is because the longer the chat, the faster you hit your limits. So at some point, it makes sense to have the AI sum everything up, and then you can put it into the overall project knowledge. You can add content here. So you can see I have my overall MVP plan here. And that's basically what we do. So here we go. So let's go. So here's the proposed UI. Single page dashboard approach, and then it keeps asking questions because that's what I asked the AI to do, and it helps you clarify and narrow down the idea. And of course, we just respond to the questions. What often happens is the AI is going to want to add complexity to whatever you're doing and do everything before you're ready to move on to the next step. And you have to stop it from doing that. So what we end up having is we discussed all of the pieces for the MVP, the charts that we want, and then ask it to sum everything up. So once it sums everything up, we have the core flow of the MVP. And this is pretty much the MVP plan, right? So we have an entry point. We're going to have, like, the primary call to action here is input your channel name. And we're going to benchmark it against your category. We're going to keep refining that as we go, but that's the initial plan, right? So you do that, then we're going to have some fun loading animations for YouTube and progressive loading, of course. We're going to have the main dashboard. So right now it says three key metrics. We've actually refined that more. And here are all of the features that we expect, technical considerations, all of this stuff. And then what we're going to do is actually write the user flow. And so here's what what Claude came up with. So here's what they're going to see. They're going to search channel name. How are we going to handle errors? And the error is going to be channel URL if we can't find the channel by name. So it just sums up everything we've done. And that's the point where we pasted this MVP plan into the project knowledge. So we're going to keep working off of that for each step. And we can go to our last chat. I'm going to quickly cover this because I actually do want to get into what we're going to be doing here. And here's the prompt that Claude gets. It's a senior software engineer. I'm a novice programmer. So what this does is it helps it understand that it needs to explain concepts and break things down for me. And that's somewhat true. I can code, but not super well. So this keeps things cleaner for me, although sometimes you do have to ask for clarifications anyhow. Here's the app idea. Later, we'll come up with a name. I think I wanted to call it Creator. What did I call it? I don't even know. It doesn't really matter. And then before we write a single thing of code, we're going to map out the entire process that we're going to take. And again, we want to emphasize we're going to take the simplest approach for the entire project. And then we attach the detailed final user experience. So this is where the whole plan came in. So we pasted in the MVP plan and the user flow into here. And I told it, okay, we're going to actually do this in 48 hours. Now, that's maybe not actually realistic, but it goes with the theme of keeping everything simple and trying to get the AI to pare everything down to its essentials and something we can build on for later. And if anybody has any question, let me see. Let's see if I can actually see the chat here. Here we go. How's streaming going? Streaming is just starting off, so we'll see. You guys tell me how I'm doing. But you know, first step in a long journey, I'm sure. So what we have here to keep going is the development plan for Creator Score. Okay, so that's what we ended up calling it. And so what we can see is we're going to first set up the basic infrastructure, and it has various suggestions for the infrastructure that we're going to set up. So this is the phase 1 part of this. Then we're going to build out the search for the YouTube channels, the analytics dashboard, and data visualization. Now, what's interesting is it thinks it's going to take us 12 hours to do this. So this is why we really want to analyze what's going on here and ask questions about what what Claude came up with. And of course, it did actually ask a couple different questions, and it wanted to almost use mock data, and that's not what we're going for right now. Like if you were demoing this for somebody and needed something very, very quick, okay. But overall, we probably want to keep it with actual real data, and that means using the YouTube API, which we get a certain number of free calls. In fact, 10,000 units a day, so that's enough to start with, right? So I started asking, though, a little bit about here. Tech stack, you suggested React and Node.js on Railway. So I started suggesting in the initial plan that we use this for our code. And it started reevaluating and said, okay, we can actually use Next.js instead. So we ended up deciding, okay, instead, let's use Next and reevaluate the plan, because we also want to deploy on a service called Railway. And right now, the other piece is auth. So we talked about, like, if you add more stuff if you add authentication for a YouTube channel, you get access to more analytics. But we want to prove out that people kind of want this thing. And I think they do. Like, there's proven use cases for this, but we want to take it one step at a time. So here's the actual revised development plan using Next. Okay, so project setup, okay, easy enough. YouTube API integration, 3 hours, not so bad. So you can see that actually the search experience came down from 8 hours to 6. Dashboard is still taking us a long time. So are a lot of these other features. So we then want to say, let's cut dev time and remind it that we're not using certain things because it can hallucinate a bit and not understand what we're going for. And so then we just say, look, how else can we save time? And what open source tools are there to actually cut time here and not build everything from scratch ourselves, because we just don't need to do it. And so finally, you can see that we're starting to cut some time. And again, search experience actually, I think it went actually back up. But again, like, we kind of doubled down on, like, this doesn't make sense. And so then it starts saying, okay, let's actually think about what tools we can use to speed up these build times. And one of the suggestions for analytics was actually Tremor. And there were a couple different ones that it recommended to have some open source tools, Rechart or Tremor, to actually use. And then we had the AI help evaluate both options. Okay, so for the metrics, we answered its questions. A visualization, it suggested to Tremor and the other one. And I said, look, break it down. Like, help me understand this. So that's what we're going to continuously do over and over. And so I'm going to skip to the bottom because actually I want to actually get to something new. But what you can see here is, like, we can continue to ask about the approach and saving time and money for our MVP version. So what we finally have is recap everything, because you can see down here, long chats cause you to reach your limits. And so then we have the final tech specifications. And I believe this is what I ended up pasting in as the MVP plan for everything. So our framework's going to be Next. We're going to use the YouTube API and use built-in caching that comes with Next. Then for our database, we're going to be using MongoDB, and we're going to be on the free tier for a while, so it's kind of nice. To make building easier, we're going to use these base components, and we decided on some other kind of frameworks that we can use for the analytics and charts. So you can see this saves us time of building our own Tremor charts. So just copy and paste components. And this is what it looks like out of the box. So we did that over something even more flexible and customizable because, well, it looks good right away and it just saves us time. We don't need anything super, super complicated at the moment. Hoping this all makes sense for everybody. The other part of this, let's see, here we go. So features YouTube API search, and we may end up wanting to do something better with search and having some predictive stuff come up. So when you start typing a channel name, it actually helps you find it. But those are niceties, right? It's not core to the actual product that we're building. And then metrics. So here's what we can get. And up above, I discussed a bunch about the metrics that we should actually be using as our MVP. So public API for the MVP, here's what you're going to be able to understand. And we ended up actually, I think I ended up using ChatGPT for YouTube channel metrics. And you can see it spit out 50 metrics that somebody might want. And I had it ordered in order of importance. And of course, we did kind of a sense check on all of those. Turns out it actually was pretty accurate with some minor exceptions, which is nice. Just saves you time from actually doing something. So let's see here. Okay, so here are our, I think it's under 10 metrics. Subscriber count and growth. Like, so is the channel trending up or trending down? Total views, how many videos, when do they upload, how much? Because that's going to play into, like, does my channel, would I do better if I uploaded consistently or twice a week or whatever it is? Engagement rate, all of that stuff. And then there are a lot more kind of in-depth metrics that we can jump into, but they require a user to authorize you to access them. And so we're not going to start there. So next, JS caching, like we mentioned. Mobile strategy is just to be responsive for the mobile stuff for now. And later we can do a PWA. We can progressive web app. We can also think about actually building an app. In some ways, this would actually be easier if it was just built as like an iOS app. Not in some ways, in a lot of ways, because then we don't have to worry about any of the networks setup and such. So here's what all of this actually looks like. And we have some dependencies that we're going to be setting up. Platform is Railway, environmental variables. Okay. And then here's our actual development time. It thinks we can get done in 48 hours. Now, whether that's true or not kind of depends a bit on me as well and how much explanation everything takes. But you can see we actually went down from like the visualization piece and the analytics piece, each taking about like 8 to 12 hours a piece, down to 12 hours total, which is awesome. Mobile optimization and polish and deploy. So it actually thinks that we can get this whole thing done in 7, 15, another 12, so it's 24, 27, 31, so under 48 hours, which is kind of cool. But here's the stuff where I'm just not including, right? No auth, no advanced caching, no advanced mobile features or updates, etc. And so now we're going to start with phase 1. But to do that, we're actually going to jump into a new chat. So that's kind of the background to all of this. And yeah, so let's start with phase 1. I might have to add a new scene onto this because we're going to have to jump into terminal. So let's see. I'm going to say start new chat. And actually, when we start a new chat, we always actually want to go back to the project. And let's make sure that I did upload the right thing. And I believe I did. Yeah. So this is our ultimate stuff. Perfect. Let's proceed with phase 1. Okay, come on, you can do it. Wondering if you guys have done this before, or how you were building with AI. Oh, come on. It really doesn't want to do it. So let's see. Proceed with phase 1. Let's try it again. Okay, great. See, what else can we share here? We gotta add. Let's see if we can shift this, because I wanted to add, but it's not a scene, I don't think. I think we just, here we go, add, show more, screen share, window, here we go, share. Cool. And actually what we want is not to show all of this. Is it going to only let me share one thing at a time? It's possible. Well, like I said, first stream, so let's see video, if it actually is going to work. I don't think it is, actually. This is very interesting that it doesn't want to do that. Okay, so let's assume. All right, well, that's okay for the moment, I think, because unfortunately, in my guest settings add, I'm thinking this isn't going to work the way we want it to, but that's all right. All right, so I'm just gonna not show both at the time for now, because I think that's gonna get distracting. And so I'm just gonna show right here. So here's what we're doing. We're in my, I'm gonna create, so we actually need to create that, of course. And we should probably create it first, and I'm going to create it. Here's yes. A turbo pack is no. Import alias yes. Oops, actually that's fine. I meant to say no. Cool. So now we can actually navigate to the folder. Great. And we're going to install dependencies. Okay. So in this case, this definitely happens, that we are just going to get errors. And sometimes it is what it is. Let's see. It's not actually, it doesn't look so great on the stream. All right, let's do it like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy all of this and just paste this in to Claude. And so part of the issue we're having here, it looks like, is that we actually have some dependencies and some legacy stuff rather than the newest version of React. So we got to clean, not what we want. Come on, stop. Don't know what happened there. Okay. Okay, that's interesting. All right, so I think that's okay. No. Let's customize Zoom. No. Okay. Okay. Well, NPM has failed. No. So as you guys can see, it's not all smooth sailing here, and it's a lot of trial and error. And actually, as we go, you guys will get more comfortable with like what do you actually paste into Claude to let it understand what's happened and what's doing. And the same thing with ChatGPT, of course. So, oops. And of course, it's just not liking. Right now, there's some capacity constraints on Claude. We could, of course, go to ChatGPT for some of this debugging stuff. It's fine to use, actually, I find. But no, not what I wanted. Okay, let's keep with this scene. Sorry, guys. Okay, so first, apparently we have some issues with permissions. So we have to fix some permission issues. Okay, then we're going to clean the cache. Okay. And I suppose I could actually project and directory. So actually probably should have cd'd out of this. And let's try this again. Oops. And unfortunately, we only have like 5 more minutes, and then I have to get going. Okay. Good. So now we're going to remove that, and now we're going to create it again. And no turbo pack, no customization. Let's try it again. Okay, cool. So we finally have that. And now we go to the next step. Maybe. We're actually running into a lot of capacity issues right now. All right, so let's make sure. So what we can do also is go to you see, I may end up, let me share this other part. Replace and okay, so what we want to do is here's users, okay, here's me, here's creator score. So we have Node installed correctly here, and we just wanted to make sure that everything looked good here, and then we can go on to the next piece, which is exactly what happened. And Claude is still trying to go at it. And let me show you guys. Claude, oops. Oh, that's interesting. Every time I do that, replace. I wonder why it's doing that. Like we can't. It's kind of annoying, actually. Okay, so back to here. So we have Next.js. So we're going to create the core components and structure, and we're going to start with the shared components in the search page. Great. Okay, so and there's another app that I've been using, and it's called Cursor. It also has AI kind of installed, and it's kind of a code companion type thing. So we'll share that right now, and I have 3 minutes. We didn't get a lot done, but we set up Next.js. We opened it, we did something, and you guys got the background for this project, which I think is important in understanding like how the setup typically goes. Okay, so let me just share Cursor, and that's probably more or less all we have time for, but we'll see. Share screen and window. Here's Cursor. So you can see there's actually a different project that I already have in here that we were looking at. So let's just go with a new. We'll just go here. It's fine. Oops. Why is it not? Come on. Okay. Open. Cool. So now you guys can see that we have everything here. And so if we want, we can actually easily create another page right from here, and we just call it a new file. And we can just copy everything that's in here for now, and we'll review it when we do it. Let's just call this search page for now, and then we'll get it to the appropriate naming convention, of course. And so what should these pages be named, and what extension? Did I create this in the wrong spot? Probably. Okay, so we need this to be inside of SRC app, and now we have page.tsx. So actually what we should have done is not done this. So we're going to delete search page and we'll move it to trash. And it turns out we just needed to put this inside of page.tsx. We're going to copy that. And paste. Okay. And now, so we have two errors in page.tsx, but actually it's just because we haven't created the components yet. So we definitely need to create the components, but okay. So components implementation. So let's copy the component. And it should be under SRC. Components. So we actually need to create that. And so what we can do actually, which is nice, is it's going to actually let us from inside our, so we're going to go and create the directories first, which is actually nice. So if I cd into the directory, which is cool, we can do that. Just going to drag and drop, which is nice. Okay, and now were we able to make all the directories? Yes, cool. And so now actually if we update this, we can see SRC components, shared search bar. And so now we can paste the search bar component. And let's see if we can do this quickly. I have like 2 minutes and 9 to go, so I'm just going to save that. And then the API route, copy. And so this is app API search route, and we're going to save. Okay, so that is it for right now. And we'll be back on. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this, and hopefully it's been, I guess, informative. And yeah.